We're gonna do the happiness moment. The last moment with Cove. And I just want to say that oh god. I'm not ready. The day and week were nearing their end, and you are welcoming it in your own way by lying sprawled out on your bed. It was quiet in your house, getting to that time of the night where you really should be sleeping, but you didn't feel tired at all. You rolled onto your side. Outside, the last lit-up window across the street blinked out, leaving the buildings on the block faceless silhouettes against a blue-black sky dotted by stars. Your phone came to life on the nightstand, a pale light cast on the ceiling of your room. Without looking, you threw your arm out behind yourself, groping around on the tabletop until your phone was under your palm. At that point, you lifted it to your face, snorting once you saw the familiar name attached to a short message, just reading hey. Cove wasn't much for sleep now either. As you made to reply though, more and more texts came through in quick succession. Hey. You like doing things, I like doing you. You like doing things with me. I mean, what I'm saying is that there are things you and I do and we like. Together at the same time. I want to just shoot straight down your throat. Now that was eyebrow raising. You propped yourself up on one elbow, sitting upright against the headboard so you could text more comfortably. Yeah, wow, you've got it all figured out. Dang, you suck at texting. Man, am I excited to see where this is going. You're right about that. You waited for him to continue. Did we write that out? Oh, okay, no, that was some... Oh, those were all choices to pick. I'm an idiot. Those are all choices to pick. Wow, you got it all figured out. The typing indicator dropped off and a notable pause followed. You snickered into the palm of your hands. Are you gonna play till the end and there's a new feature at the end? I mean, someone said it was a long moment, so I doubt I have enough time to finish this one. So, probably not. Probably not. It'll be finished in the next stream. It wasn't hard to imagine Cove red-faced and hunched over his phone in the dark, eyebrows furrowed as he tried to think of how to respond to your teasing. But ultimately, he didn't even attempt to address it. For what I was saying, you're free for a while, right? Is he putting on the moves? He's trying. I've got nothing big planned for the next few days, but that can change if you were to drop your pants. Cool. I thought so. I was just making sure. Alright. You could almost hear Cove's intake of breath as he prepared for the next part, despite the conversation being text alone. The window of your messaging app might as well have been a screenshot. You were left to keep track of the passing seconds with the rising and falling cries of the crickets outside. When your screen darkened from inactivity, you wondered if you should do something yourself. Let's give him a big ol' nudge. You're struggling with what to write, huh? What the... What kind of face is that? I don't even know. Mindful of everyone else asleep in the house, you did all you could to stifle your laughter. You didn't mean the moment, you meant the game? Of course. What do you mean? Of course I'm gonna finish the game. What? You just mean in general? Am I gonna finish this game? Yes? Keep going. I'm trying. The next message came almost instantaneously. What if we did something new or sort of unexpected? Would you be okay with that? Something we haven't ever done together? You lowered your phone, leaning back against the headboards as you thought it over. The streets outside your window looked different at night. But you knew that if you were to wander out, there'd be no chance of losing your way. There wasn't a single inch in your neighborhood that you didn't know by heart. And everywhere you looked, from the grassy hill behind your house to the shops by the beach, you could recall a time you'd been there with Cove, mostly just chatting as you walked together. You didn't mind everyday things like that, but as for something new or unexpected... What's gotten into Cove Holden to want to do something brand new? Hey, I'm not predictable. Am I? You are. Oh. Well, not right now. One by one, Cove began presenting his ideas, starting off with attending a play. We've watched TV together in movies, but real people performing in front of us? We've never done that. I'm not sure what plays exactly are on right now. At this time of night? Are there plays running? But that adds to the unexpected factor. There are plays at this time of night? I don't think there are. I don't think there are midnight plays. There was a slight pause before Cove moved on to the next plan, visiting an aquarium. Yeah. That makes sense, right? We go to the beach and stuff, we're pretty close to the water. But going to an aquarium would be water in a whole new way. The third and last idea was the most out of the blue. Ice skating. Ice skating. It was a total wild card, as Cove was putting it, and the polar opposite of what the two of you normally did. However, it was fitting right in with the other options as something you had never done together. Let's say if hypothetically someone wanted to surprise you with an unexpected outing. Would that be okay? You meant like the summer ending and playing all that again? You mean just trying different choices? Is that all you're saying? Yeah, I might do that. You couldn't help but smile fondly at that, wondering to yourself who that someone could be. Anything with him is good. As long as we're together, I'm okay. Oh. Thank you. It was clear from the quickness of his reply and the following pause that you'd caught him off guard. He was temporarily left without anything to say, but eventually he recovered. Could you still pick a favorite? You burst out laughing, forgetting for a second the time of night. It'd be... I want to see this midnight play. Watch me choose midnight. Watch me choose play, and then we go to a strip club and that's what Cove calls a play. I don't know. It's just what other? I mean, there's a live person performing in front of us, right? Literally, where are their midnight plays? You thought that was definitely something you and Cove should watch side by side at least once. Alright, cool. Don't think too hard about this talk. It doesn't mean anything. Huh. You're freaking adorable. Don't say that. Good night, Joseph. It's really late now. Oh, he doesn't mean to go out now. He just means to do it later. Yeah, it is. Nighty-night. And with that final send-off, you put your phone to sleep and lowered it with a sigh. You had no idea when Cove was going to invite you to the theater, but your mind was buzzing with all the possibilities the coming days might bring. Your phone went back to its place on the nightstand, and you resumed snuggling into the mattress, one hand thrown to the side and the other shoved under your pillow. Somewhere between this day and the next, you finally found yourself asleep. The next morning, after washing up from breakfast, you had just climbed the stairs to your room, ready to tackle the day when you heard the ringing of the doorbell. You turned towards the sound again, angling your head in confusion. Was someone expecting a visitor today? Goodbye, Lil Dow Dow. Then again, you weren't even sure if anyone else was around, judging by the lack of footsteps you were hearing. You raced back downstairs to answer the door, As you pulled it open and saw who it was, you were only further confused. Cove Holden. He was standing there with an unsure look on his face at first, like he didn't know who would answer the door. But the moment he saw it was you, a shy grin spread across his face. He raised one hand and gave you a little wave. Surprise. This is a surprise. Don't you normally use the window? You found it funny how you'd grown so used to hearing him tapping that glass pane, that showing up at your front door was what it took to get a reaction. Cove turned his head to the side with a considering lift of his eyebrows. I guess I do, but not today. I got you something. He slid his hand out from behind his back, holding it up in front of your face as he offered the present to you. Your eyes widened as you saw once you saw what it was. A new game you had been waiting for. Oh my god. How did Cove Holden know I'm a gamer? Oh god. He knows me so well. He's like, you're a gamer, aren't you? I got you that new game you were looking for. I got you Resident Evil Village. It's that new game with the big horny vampire lady that you've been talking about so much. I know you wanted it. Oh, Cove. You shouldn't have exposed me like this in front of everyone on the stream. Now everyone knows I'm a gamer. You hadn't expected a gift at all, let alone something as thoughtful as this. Taking one look at your face, no doubt a complicated mix of happiness and shock, Cove let out a laugh. Surprise again. It really is. Suddenly, Cove raised his head. His eyes I wonder when I picked a choice in the past about liking video games that he remembered, right? When did I choose that? It must have been... Was it even in this step? It was probably in this step, right? I don't know. It was probably in step 2, actually, now that I think about it. I don't know. Suddenly, Cove raised his head, and his eyes finding yours was startling you into stillness. Cove's question came softly, his voice lingering on some words as his shyness got the better of him.
Joseph.
Yes, Cove. Would you go on a date with me today? I was thinking maybe we could go to the theater. He inclined his head towards you with a crooked smile. No thanks, I'd rather play my game. You might want to step back now, I'm about to shut the door in your face. I had a feeling that might be a nice... I had a feeling that might be a nice place to invite you to. What do you mean that? What are you referring to? Oh, you just mean that as in the theater? Okay. You're my boyfriend, of course you can ask me on a date. Cove huffed a sigh of relief, his lips spreading into a wide, cheery smile. Alright, we're gonna do it. With his big question asked and accepted, Cove raised the gift towards you again, gesturing with his other hand for you to receive it officially. Oh, I see. I see. So, he wasn't gonna give us the game until we agreed to go on a date with him. So we couldn't just take the game in and not go on the date with him. You see? Like, he had this all planned out. Because he knew if he gave us that game, we weren't gonna see him for a few hours at least. You carefully took it from him. Now we've already agreed to go with him, so god damn it. He knows us so well. I'll put this bad boy somewhere safe and then we can get going. Cove had no problem with that. Still grinning, he stepped back, his body angling away as he waved a hand in the air. He's so cute. Yes, he is. I'll get my car ready then. Meet me there. Okay. As soon as the door clicked shut, you dashed upstairs to your room, prepping a spot first for Cove's gift. Then, satisfied with your efforts, you grabbed your bag, tossing in whatever else you thought you needed for the outing, before heading back outside. Cove's old car was parked right in front of the house. You went straight into it, hopping into the shotgun seat. As you buckled yourself in, Cove leaned forward to watch you with an eager expression, his fingers tapping the dashboard to a lively sort of rhythm. He was ready to start, but trying to tone it down so you wouldn't feel rushed. I'm glad we're doing this together. You make it sound like you would have just done it alone if I said no. Me too. Once your seatbelt was secured, Cove checked his mirrors to make sure the street was clear before pulling away from the curve, and like that, the two of you began your trip. Oh, Cove Holden. So, when I looked it up, there were 2 shows we could pick from around this time. One was a historical romance with nobility, fancy outfits, drama, and stuff. The other seems like a modern-day story. Something set near a lake and at a bed and breakfast with comedy. It's kind of wacky, I guess.
So?
What do you think? Let's have Chance decide. He laughed, his head shook a bit as he looked ahead. Alright, why not? Cove reached forward and fished out a coin from a little shelf area in front of the gear shift. He handed it to you. Give it a flip. Heads, we see the romance, and tails, we see the comedy. Chuckling, you shot it up. It turned 1, 2, 3 times before falling back into the palm of your hands. Only that many times? How bad are you at flipping a coin? The comedy. We have a Camp Buddy Stan in the chat. Camp Buddy Stan spotted. Cool, that settles that. You hummed in agreement, still twisting the coin with your fingers. Then you placed it back in the little shelf area Cove got it from. If we end up not liking the show, at least we can blame the coin. Cove cracked a smile, and so did you. You're already enjoying the trip.
Alright.
I'm kind of getting excited. I wonder what it'll be like. I haven't seen a live play before. Look at his lips. I haven't been to a performance before either. It could be good. To be honest, you weren't really sure if going to see a play was your kind of activity. Cove watched you fondly, though. That made this worthwhile either way. The rest of the drive flew by, and soon enough, you were at the theater with Cove by your side, tickets in hand. You both went inside. Shuffling down the aisle, Cove found the right seats. You were getting settled when the lights began to dim. We made it just in time. Ugh, he's so beautiful. Your voice came out in a whisper. Glancing at Cove, you saw him staring straight ahead with eyes glowing wider with intrigue. Then the actors started coming onto the stage. Is this appropriate theater wear? This is not appropriate for the theater, okay? It just isn't. Then the actors started coming onto the stage. I already read that part. The show set the scene telling the story of a married couple and the bed and breakfast they inherited. It was a busy life filled with a constant stream of new and interesting guests. Hand in hand with that were the shenanigans that plagued their business. But that never stopped the couple. They intended to tackle any problem. The play continued on, and at one point, Cove reached out and covered your hand with his. Feather light, you felt him stroke the back of your hand with his thumb. You smiled at that, flipping your hand over, you held on to him. I'll hold on to him. Your palms slotted together, fingers interlacing, and you felt Cove's warmth travel up your arm. His lips pulled into a grin you happily matched. You became absorbed in the story and performances, and you weren't the only one. Several times throughout, you could hear Cove's familiar laughter next to you. When the play finally came to a close, the audience broke into applause. Cove clapped for the actors until the noise died down, then he spoke for the first time since the event began. It's over. Hands in hand still, you followed Cove out of the theater. The sun was hanging low in the sky. I had so much fun. I can't believe what a good time that was. I'm glad you picked this, but I gotta know now. What made you choose the theater out of the other ideas? Cove? Do you have dementia? I flipped a coin. I picked randomly, Cove, don't you remember? Cove smirked approvingly at your non-reason for making decisions. Then we were both being spontaneous. Looks like it. You shot him a grin back. But really, I might have to come back sometime to see the other one. Cove scratched at his cheek contemplatively. I sort of thought it was going to be harder to keep up with what's the phrase? Suspension of disbelief. Isn't it suspension of belief? Not suspension of disbelief? The actors were right there, putting on a show. I thought it would be too much to believe it was really happening.
Not bad.
But I felt more into it than with a lot of movies. I could totally picture the world they lived in. Amused, you nodded along and listened to Cove's animated commentary. I'm still thinking about it even though it's over. Imagine if that was us. Working together to run a little place of our own and dealing with all those crazy guests. People would come and go as they're passing through the area, giving us new stories to tell. But at the end of the day, it would just be the two of us who stayed forever, sticking it out and making a life there. No, Cove is right. Okay. Well, just call me stupid, why don't you? He had stars in his eyes as he fantasized about the events of the story. You're late for a very important date? Aww. Am I your date? I would love that. I'm good with life I'm already living. Are you envisioning us being married like the couple in the story you joked? Yes. You raised an eyebrow accusingly, but your tone left little room for doubt that you were teasing. Well... Gove's gaze avoided you and you settled on the ground off to the side. He spoke softly.
I mean...
Like you said, it's part of the story. So it'd be wrong to throw that out, right? His mouth pulled into a small smile. And after several heartbeats, his gaze met yours, making your skin feel hotter. Of course I wouldn't dream of skipping that part. Stunned, Cove stared at you, but then slowly his expression melted into a nervous grin. He was too flustered to say anything. A few quiet moments passed, and you noticed a distant look on Cove's face. He shook his head like he was trying to send a thought away. Ooh, what is that? Trying to really picture a completely new life in a new place actually feels kind of weird, now that I'm doing it. I'm not exactly sure how to explain. It's exciting, but also sad. I'm thinking too seriously about this dumb idea, I guess. But if I don't remember anything from this world, then it would be pointless that I had a life before. And if it really did happen, I probably would be surrounded by totally new people. I wouldn't have you with me anymore. Surprised, you sucked in a breath. Cove laughed shyly.
That's...
The fun part of imagining it all was that you were there by default. Just getting to be somewhere else on my own wouldn't be nice no matter how cool the place was. It's settled then. I'll just have to look out for you if I wind up having another chance at life or magically end up in some other world. I hope you would try to find me too. Nervous, Cove's eyes didn't quite meet yours. His cheeks and ears were solidly red at this point. I'd find you, it's obvious, of course, I'd search for you. I will never forget about you, Cove. I'll see how it goes. My new life might keep me busy. Let's see. Of course I'd search for you. I'll never forget about you. So Cove and MC watched some public play? Oh my god. Oh. Wait, did you mean that's... How do you mean public play? Because to me, when you say public play, that means something totally different to me. You felt somewhat worked up for having to even say that. It was absurd to imagine any other scenario. Oh, thank you. The sincere tone in his voice struck a deep chord with you, and you had to return the earnestness. I mean it. There's nothing anyone could do to stop me from trying to find you again. Well, in that case, it'll work out after all. He took a deep breath and stretched his arms high over his head. He then turned his head towards your direction and pointed with his thumb to his car. We better get going back to our real world now, huh? It's getting late, and I think we're the only ones still out here. You spun around, getting a good look at your surroundings. Cove was right. All the other cars that were out here after the show ended were long gone. How did I miss that? It's suddenly dark too, by the way. Yep, it is.
Come on.
Come on, let's go home. After that, you made your way into Cove's car. You set course for your neighborhood. Your legs felt stiff from standing still and talking for so long, but it was worth it. A ways into the drive, Cove glanced towards your direction. You stretched your arms as you shifted in the seat, waiting patiently for him to say what was on his mind.
So...
Oh, like actors acting out a play in a park? So not like, you know, having fun with Cove or something in public. Yeah. They went and watched a play in a theater. So I know this was unexpected, but thanks for coming along. It was fun, but the worst attempt at a surprise ever. Oh my god. Any date with you is a good one. Really? Any at all? Yeah, of course. There was a quiet pause and you contentedly watched Cove. It wasn't hard to imagine the blush that was likely trailing over his cheeks. I'm glad. The drive continued in comfortable silence. Cove wore a content expression on his face that warmed your heart. Doing things like this with Cove, he made you happy. Your heart skipped a beat thinking about how mutual the feeling seemed to be. Watching the passing scenery out the window, you relaxed into the seat. The time sped by. It wasn't long before Cove pulled into his driveway. Sighing happily, you got out of the car while Cove came around to where you were standing. He stood there a moment, rolling a pebble under his shoe. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm counting on it.
Thanks.
After that, you and Cove parted ways for the rest of the day. Even when you fell back into your normal routine, your mind refused to stop buzzing with the memory of your little adventure. As you crawled into bed and closed your eyes, you were back in the best parts of today. You hoped Cove's surprise would continue just a bit longer and continue in your dreams. After breakfast the next morning, you were sitting with your moms and Liz. Camp Buddy is literally the golden standard of games. While you were mildly listening to the conversation, the side of your face squished into the palm of your hand. The doorbell rang.
Oh?
Oh, I'll get it. Mom passed you by to the front door. Your eyes lazily followed her. Then you turned your attention to Ma and Liz. They were still light-heartedly chatting. You weren't sure about what. Your focus snapped back when your name was called from across the room. Hey, Joseph. You have a guest. Be right there. My videos are amazing and helped you with your depression. Oh my god, I'm so happy. That means so much to me. Thank you so much, Nami-kun. On your way to the front door, Mom gave your shoulder a pat as she returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who was at the door. The story in medieval times is a better storyline than Camp Buddy. What the? You really just came out here and decided to commit violence. You just decided to commit violence today. Oh my god. Absolutely savage. Ugh. On the way to the front door, Mom gave you a shoulder pat as she returned to the living room. When she moved by, you saw who was at the door.
Hi.
Oops. It was Cove again. A smile stretched out across his face the moment your eyes met. Are you going on another date?
Hi.
Do we have another present for me? Do you have another game for the gamer? That's me, Joseph, the gamer. Where's my game? Come on, let's go. Hi, Cove, sweetie. Instantly, you looked over your shoulder to see Ma several feet away. But within eyeshot of the door, she waved. Oh, look how cute he is. You find all the games good and videos Kuro's videos are awesome? Okay, that's true. My videos are awesome. Let's not go that far, brilled Sean. Instantly, I already read that. When you faced Cove again, he was looking at the ground shyly. It reminded you of the last time you had seen him the night before. That was all the push you needed to step outside, closing the door behind you for some privacy. Cove is the game. What's going on? What do you have up your sleeve today? You coming to the door all the time is starting to get weird. You realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? Yeah, I know. That doesn't stop it from being true. And you're the one who made reasonable actions unheard of. Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile and he shrugged. Then Cove quickly and awkwardly, then Cove chuckled awkwardly. He didn't quite meet your eye as he pulled out another gift from behind his back. Another gift for the gamer? Come on, let's go. Surprise. Want to go to the aquarium with me? What's my gift? Is it the aquarium tickets? That's lame. What? You blinked and then switched to staring at him in bewilderment. Cove's eyes narrowed conspiratorially. Are we going to go on all the dates? The real surprise was that I'm just going to invite you to all 3 places. You never had to choose one. I just needed to make sure that they didn't sound completely terrible. The longer Cove spoke, the quieter his voice became. He shyly scratched at the side of his cheek. And to check if you'd be free, so surprise again. Let's see, are you serious? You burst into laughter, you're so sweet. You remained wordlessly staring. You're so sweet. Thanks. His face grew red with a blush. Slyly, Cove looked away from you. Oh, do you like what I got you? What did you even get me? Cove nudged the present in his hands towards you, hoping that you'd take it. Until now, you hadn't completely registered it. It was a carefully chosen stuffed animal. Where's my game? I'm a gamer. You're doing so much, I feel a little bad. You don't have to. I'm not missing out on anything by doing nice stuff for you. And I think you should have these good things. You didn't tell me to do it. Okay. Trusting Cove, you pushed your worries aside. You took the gift and smiled softly. Are you gonna accept the other part too? I'm already excited about the aquarium. Let's get going. Cove bounced a bit on the toes of his feet as he leaned back over to kiss you. It was light, but you could feel his smile pressing into you and every bit of happiness radiating off of him. Thanks for coming. I'll be in the car. You can go get ready. Alright. You sped back inside and spotted your family still sitting around the table. They all turned and smiled at you. So, what's the plan for today? Cove invited me to go out to the aquarium with him. Ma clapped her hands together happily. Her smile beamed.
Have fun.
That sounds so fun. I hope you have a great time with Cove. I will. You grinned and looked over at Liz. She nodded, looking happy for you. It didn't take you long to get ready and dash out the front door. Cove was waiting for you as promised, and you both set out for day 2 of his surprise outings, and this time was actually a surprise. You settled in fully for the trip out to the aquarium in the city. It would be a bit of a drive, but you didn't mind. You made an attempt to start a conversation. It's kind of funny we've never done this before now. Why haven't we? Probably because I've never thought about going to the aquarium with anyone before this. What? Our local ocean enthusiast has never been to the aquarium? Yep, that's right, never. And not just to this specific one either. I haven't been to an aquarium, period. Wow. I haven't been either. Why not? It can be our first time together. Your family had other priorities for their rare trips out to the city. It didn't seem like a big deal that you hadn't gone to the aquarium, but it still felt weird that Cove hadn't gone to the trouble before. Okay, so what's the story for this? Cove tapped the tips of his fingers against the steering wheel, his face scrunching in contemplation. When I was growing up, my dad did try to take me. I'd never been before because I was so little. I said no. Whenever he tried to talk about it, I told my dad I'd rather go to the actual beach on my own. Or he could at least take me to the fish part of the pet store, but not the aquarium. Eventually he didn't ask about it anymore. He must have figured I had something against it. When he stopped mentioning the aquarium, I stopped thinking about it. It just never came back to my mind. His expression shifted to one of bemused confusion. The thing is, I don't know what I had against it. If I did, I have a problem. Maybe I didn't like the idea of seeing water. I wasn't allowed to go in or meet the fish. I could never bring home. That sounds like the kind of thing that little me would have gotten upset over. Or maybe I wasn't okay with doing a new kind of trip. It'd be to someplace new and with only my dad. Mom wouldn't be there anymore.
I guess.
I guess that might have made it seem like it's not worth doing right off the bat. That's 8-year-old me for you. Ko shook his head with a pained smile. Then his tongue dropped to a distant whisper. It was only when thinking about stuff I could do with you that I finally remembered that I could go to the aquarium. Oh. He pulled out his mouth into a bent smile and straightened his shoulders. He didn't want to bring the mood down. It all worked out in the end because I got to really surprise you at the news, huh? Yeah, you totally got me there. You're adorable. I hope it'll all be worth it now. I'm excited we'll both be going there for the first time together. You're adorable. I think I said that last time. Yes, he wanted to go with us. Of course he did. Excuse me. He said nothing, only let out a bashful sigh. The conversation continued on with idle chatter about what you do when you got there. Then the large, angular building decorated with ocean-themed cutouts came into view. You'd arrived at your destination. You hopped out of the car and headed over to the imposingly large guest entrance. Ko's head swiveled around to let his curious eyes take in every view, and you weren't even inside yet. You could see the realization of what he'd been missing out on dawn on him in real time. Ko bounced on the balls of his feet as the two of you stood in line to get tickets. His excitement continued to build. When you finally were to face to face with the tanks, you could hear Ko quietly gasp from your side. He briskly took some large strides to get further into the room, and to get closer to the glass barrier. Then he stood still. After taking a moment for himself, he whipped around to look at you. Ko was outright vibrating with excitement. His mouth opened in a large smile, but all that came out was tiny, squeaking giggles. It bubbled over into full giddy laughter before he was able to speak in earnest. Each word was full of joy. Love your hair, it's so poofy? Why is the face upside down when you're saying that? It's amazing, I love it here. I love it too, of course you do. I love it too. He cheered back without hesitation. Yeah, the aquarium is great. The two of you wasted no time before rushing around this place. You went every which way across the aquarium. Ko was enthralled by each new sight, his eyes alight like a kid in a candy store, and a perpetual smile made its home on his face. No metaphorical stone was left unturned. He viewed all the tanks from his tallest of heights on tippy toes, as well as crouching low to the floor as he could manage. Your exuberance was just as bright as his, buoyed further by how happy you were that he had found such happiness. You beamed. After making an entire trip through the whole building, you and Cove finally slowed the pace down. You had arrived back at the original viewing room. It was a good spot for a break. Cove stood quietly near the tank in almost the same spot as he had when he first took in the view. Somehow that moment already felt like a long time ago. We have to protect that smile? Hell yeah. You weren't sure if he was feeling the same way. You're scared to talk about folks' hair, but you do love it. Racist. I'm kidding. You have dyslexia. It looked upright to you. I don't know about that, but okay. You weren't sure if he was feeling the same way. Cove simply watched the watery world and sighed with open fondness. He wouldn't get tired of that view ever. You were certain of that. You walked up to stand by him, taking in the same otherworldly experience of having a seat right in front of you. Suddenly, Cove swallowed hard. Your head tilted. He wasn't looking at you. His eyes were glued to a vast ocean view in front of him. But his bright red face reflected clearly on the floor to the ceiling glass pane, separating aquarium goers from the water. You couldn't understand. Nothing had happened. Then realization came. This was Cove. He was flustered because he was thinking about doing something. What? Cove always got that way when he was mentally building himself up. You leaned against the hand railing with a smirk. You weren't going to take your gaze off him for even a second. It was imperative that you didn't miss any of this, whatever it was. I remember back in first degree lovely summer when we were with Benami, the pink-haired twink. We got flustered out there too, and then we took him into the supply closet and started. Not even the supply closet. We took him right in front of the aquarium and started having our way with him. Anyway. So there's a lot of fish in here, huh? That's right, good job. His mouth clamped shut as after those vague stuttered words. You could feel the tension growing. After a breathless pause, he spoke again. You know, if you were a fish, you'd be a paradise fish. Because being with you is like being in paradise. Cove pressed his forehead against the glass with his eyes wide and gazed down as he fervently refused to even peek at what reaction you might be giving. He was blushing wildly, feeling unparalleled embarrassment over the line he just dropped. What? Here in public? I thought you'd never ask. Well, Cove probably likes public play. We've already discussed that. Let's see, you smiled adoringly while watching him. You burst into laughter. It was so unbelievable, so completely out of nowhere, and so totally not what you'd expected when he started talking about fish. You have plenty of fish name knowledge up your sleeve too for this. Well, if you were a fish, you'd be a silver dollar, specifically 20 silver dollars. You know why? Because Ko's dad gave us $20, or that's all it costs to get in his hole. Kissing Garami, Sunrise Guppy, Teardrop Butterfly, Diamond Chetra, Clownfish. Ko's head hung low in complete defeat. He mumbled shamefully. Never mind any of that. Obviously you're my Rosie Barb. You snickered at the small fuss. He really was a clownfish. After that, Ko wanted to go around the aquarium again. He'd hoped to let it all sink in at a more leisurely pace while you were here. Plus, he desperately wanted more time to settle down after his latest big attempt at flirting. The two of you began your second loop down the path. It took no time at all to become more absorbed in the incredible sea life once more. Since when do I stream on Sundays? Well, I canceled Saturday stream, so I streamed today instead. So that's all. There wasn't nearly enough time in a single day to satisfy Cove's desire to exist inside of the aquarium, but the day did have to end eventually. Despite obviously wanting to linger longer, Cove left the building with a skip and a step. It had been a good trip. The two of you shut the doors of Cove's car behind you as you took your usual seats. The clicking of seatbelts punctuated the end of the adventure. I would absolutely do that again. Okay, next time, can we have a little more fun there? How about I put a vibrator in your ass next time before we go? And I have it on a remote control that I can activate at will. No kidding. Ko chuckled as he pulled the car out of the parking lot spot. Spirits still as high as ever. The car ride home went far too fast. You and Cove were in good spirits and spent the whole ride chatting and laughing, bouncing around various topics. But you didn't ask the question that sat all day in the back of your mind. Why was Cove doing all of this in the first place? Again, you both parted ways for the night in the neighborhood street. You watched Cove head inside with a quick wave. You were halfway to your own house when a familiar voice called out to you. Turning on your heels, you spotted Mr. Holden. He lightly jogged over to talk.
Hey!
Hey, how are you? I'm good. Great, I was just getting home from work. What are you up to? Or rather, what were you up to today? Me and Cove went to the aquarium. You did, huh? Sounds fun. It was fun, and also a surprise, which is weird, since usually me and Cove not hanging out would be what sounds surprising. Crossing your arms, you gave a quick laugh. Mr. Holden frowned. He rubbed the back of his neck and studied you for several silent moments. Right, so Joseph, what's going on here? Something is going on, isn't it? Huh? Wait, what makes you ask that? There's not a problem, right?
So...
I'll answer your question if you answer mine. Deal? That was Mr. Holden's way. Always trying to make deals with you, but you could deal with it. Deal or no deal? Alright, you have yourself a deal. You held out a hand to make it official. Mr. Holden's smile widened as he reached out and shook it. What's the story? The truth is, Cove's been doing a lot for me lately, way more than usual. For 2 days in a row now, he's planned special dates and gifts too. I don't know why. Is he gonna propose to me? Cove's father nodded contemplatively. He accepted the situation easily. That actually makes a lot of sense, considering. Is this some secret you should be sharing? Considering what? There was a sharp-edged tone to your voice and it drove you to take a step forward. You needed to know. You have to tell me. There was a pause. He was unsure of what to say next, or how to phrase it at least. Honestly, I've been the littlest bit worried about Cove lately. He's gotten really up in his head about something. But it's not exactly a bad thing. It's tough to know how to even bring it up. I'm not sure if I should even try to have a talk about it. Oops. The longer you spoke, the wider your eyes grew with concern. There was more happening than a few meaningless hangouts. It's okay. He raised his hands in a calming motion when he noticed your reaction. Let me explain. I noticed Ko's been getting lost in his thoughts more often recently. And he sometimes has his laptop out in the living room. He leaves it laying around on the couch or puts it on the coffee table. I have a clear view of it from there, and I can obviously see him looking up stuff on it. Cove keeps searching one phrase and different wordings of it too. Then he'll spend ages clicking through the linked results. The line is, how do you make someone happy? Just that, again and again. You had to consciously close your mouth after that. You didn't know what to say even after hearing that revelation. Mr. Holden gently beamed. Isn't he such a good kid? He continued, but his tone was rueful. Unfortunately, I can relate all too well to that conundrum. Who am I to judge, right? Mr. Holden tried an exaggerated way to lighten the mood back up. I can see him thinking about proposing so it can happen in like 5 years. I want to get married now. Before I was thinking, Cove might have gotten into a fight with somebody. Now it sounds like I was way off the mark. Cove clearly has other plans on the brain. I'm even more confused on whether this is something I should get into or not. You know, actually, I was wondering if you could have a little chat with him about what's going on. It sounds like you're at the core of Cove's sudden study sessions, so he'd feel more at ease talking about it, or more embarrassed, but he'd still probably do it. I would really appreciate it. Your gaze trailed over to the Holden residence. Mr. Holden made a good point, you had to admit. I'll do it.
Good kid.
Thanks. You're also a really good kid. You shook your head with a smile and started walking towards where Cove went. After a few steps, you realized that Mr. Holden wasn't following. You glanced back at him. I'm gonna hang out here for a bit. Make sure you have some space to talk without a parent in the way. The door's probably unlocked, so go right in. Okay. But you hesitated for a moment. Mr. Holden's smile faded. Thanks for talking with me. This had been on my mind too, and I think it'll be good to ask Cove if everything's okay.
Absolutely.
Agreed. It'll shake out right in the end, I'm sure. Mr. Holden grew much happier than he was a moment ago. Feeling ready, you turned right around and went into the house. Cove was sitting on the couch with his aforementioned laptop open. He peeked up at you with a puzzled look, then it melted into a smile. I thought you were my dad. Did you forget something? No. I hope you're not too disappointed it's just me instead of your dad. I mean, your dad's pretty hot, right? Have you ever thought about, kissing him? As your teasing words sank in, you watched a smirk grow across his face. You crossed your arms and grinned.
No way.
Why are you here? Cautiously, you asked Cove about his searching, lightheartedly. Can we talk? Nothing awful, it's just a thing. You already started this off awful, you idiot. Never say, can we talk, if you want it to be lighthearted. Stupid. Okay. Cove closed his laptop and laid it on the cushion next to him. He got up, shoveled past the coffee table, and stopped right in front of you. Is everything alright? You see, now he's already asking us, is everything alright? Yeah, just, what's going on, Cove? I was talking to your dad and he's been noticing some stuff. Apparently you've been obsessively looking up how to make someone happy. Is there a reason for that? You noticed that? Are you mad? No, I guess I was really distracted. I didn't think people would actually be paying attention or taking note of things. He chuckled awkwardly at himself. Cove, will you tell me why you felt like doing that so much?
Joseph.
Yes, Cove. Cove looked at you with large, earnest eyes. I did it because I want you to be happy. Oh, I want you to be happy too. Let's see, that's seriously it. You're killing me, Cove Holden. Cove stuttered out another laugh, and then the tension in his shoulders eased. You put a hand to your face and you shook your head. Killing you? Oh no, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted. His gaze fell to the floor and he defaulted to a rubbing at his arm.
Sorry.
I wasn't trying to make you or Dad concerned. I didn't want to upset anyone. Sorry. I'm definitely not upset. Your dad isn't either. Cove nodded, but he was still lost in thought. What made you start doing this all of a sudden? Did I do something? No. Then what happened?
I don't know.
With a deep frown, Cove looked back at you and repeated the phrase. Each time, the inflection was different, like he intended to say something different but was coming up with the same non-reply. I don't know. I don't know anything. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to understand his own motivations. I guess maybe with everything that's been happening and everything that's coming soon, it's just kind of hit me that we're neighbors. A quick snort of air came out of your nose from his conclusion. Yeah? I mean, you lived right across the street from me for 10 years. The only other kid who grew up in this whole neighborhood is your older sister. His weak smile bent. And then there's our parents. They sure were putting in the effort for the two of us to get to know each other. My dad literally paid you to be my friend. Cove shook his head with a laugh. His gaze was far away as he nostalgically reflected on the history you had. Basically, everything in our lives was set up for us to be together. It was always effortless. And why not? It practically went without saying that we'd be around each other, but it won't be like that forever. Can we possibly have a three-way relationship with Cove and Cliff? Yes. Wait, did I read that? Our parents can't always be there to arrange things. We can't live in this little world of this street forever. Do I even know how to make it work when I don't have every advantage possible? I've made you happy in the past, but could I keep doing it? What even is it that I do that makes you happy? Ko started to run a hand through his hair again, but he stopped partway through. He looked at you earnestly. It was like breathing. When you're just going through life, you do what you're doing without even thinking about it. And then something reminds you that you're breathing, and you become more conscious of it. Being with you is the same. I do what I normally do without pondering deeply on it. But now all this stuff made me start thinking about it. Then I couldn't stop thinking about it. Hove sighed and stood up straighter. His eyes watched you softly, and you felt a surge of warmth in your chest. Ko, realizing that he's had this relationship on easy mode. Joseph, I love you. I felt like I needed to try harder, to make an effort. For you, for the relationship we had. I had to, and well, that's what I did. Ko scratched the back of his neck. He looked sheepish now. It seemed like such a good idea in my head. It made complete sense, but maybe it was dumb. Punched his arm affectionately, you kissed him, you can kiss him. In one swift motion, you pulled him closer and leaned in, delicately pressing a kiss onto his mouth. Ko fell into it, placing his hands on your hips. He kissed you back. Stepping back, you took a deep breath. Ko shifted how he was standing and watched you bashfully. Ko will always make me happy. I love you too. You're a big moron. Ko, you'll always make me happy. An adoring smile grew on your face as you could see your words sink in. You hoped you understood the depth of your emotions. You make me happy every day. I care about you. I should be thanking you for everything you've done. Thank you. There was a pause where neither of you were certain who was going to speak next. Ko sniffled.
Wow.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for looking out for me. Even when I didn't even notice I was doing something worth checking in on. You're amazing. Someone had to do it. Ko narrowed his eyes to appear annoyed, but there was no amount of pretending that was going to extinguish the happy look on your face. Your mouth curled into a smirk. Ko chuckled. Now that everything was out in the open, his words were lighter. I've got to thank my dad, too. I can always count on him to be around. I have such good people in my life. He smiled softly. Ko withdrew a bit, looking shy. Can I, still show up tomorrow and invite you on the last surprise outing? Yes, I'll see you first thing in the morning. Ko brightened hearing that from you, grinning ear to ear. You honestly couldn't think of anything better than seeing the earnest look in his eyes. He simply wanted to have fun spending time with you. I can't wait. Me either. Ko leaned down so he could kiss you. As your lips parted, you saw that his were curled in a smile. He wrapped his arms around you and tucked you in close. You're really nice. Your lips gladly met his once more. Ko smelled good, like a heady mixture of fresh citrus and sea breeze. You'd mutually ensnared each other with the kiss, unwilling to let it end, until Ko abruptly glanced down, around as if he was seeing the location for the first time. He ducked his head, bashfully peering at you out of the corner of his eyes. We're kind of in the middle of the living room. He mumbled the words, his grip on you tightening. My dad might come in soon, but, you know, my room is right over there, so maybe we could go there if you wanted to. I'm gonna come down your throat, Cove Holden. I'm good with that. No, I'm good with just that. Okay, you can do that. You seized his hand and led the way. You didn't waste a second taking hold of your boyfriend. There was no time to lose as far as you were concerned. Cove staggered the force of your sudden tug, nearly keeling him over, but he managed to catch his balance. He hurried down the hall along with you, clinging desperately to your hand. You were the one who opened the doors you both pushed through as one. Cove smoothly closed the door after him, using the heel of his foot, not allowing his hand or attention to be diverted from you for even a moment. He took you into his arms, fully holding you close to his chest. You inhaled another waft of his invigorating fragrance as you stared into his open, eager eyes. Let's see. We pushed him down onto the bed. I'm gonna take your virginity, Cove Holden. Taking his shirt in your fists, one hand on his waist and the other on his chest, you pressed him over towards his bunk. Cove stumbled over his feet. It wasn't easy, moving backwards as someone else set the pace, but he soldiered on. Once you judged that it was close enough to the bed for a soft landing, you opened your hand against his chest and toppled him over. He didn't resist, falling back into the bed with a gasp. You climbed on top of him. The mattress gave gently under the pressure. Your knees sunk slightly as you planted them on either side of Cove's body. Cove's breath hitched, a much quieter sigh slipping from his mouth as the surprise gave way to the realization of the position you were both in. He looked up into your face with nervous excitement. Aww. Can I run my hands up his thigh, touch his cock? Reaching down, you ran a hand along his thigh. He tensed and gave you a wobbly smile, as if feeling bad about how much he was impacted by the sensation. As you continued to stroke your hand along his leg, he bit his lips, eyes fluttering closed. Cove reached over and let his fingertips ghost down your spine. As you sighed, pleased, he allowed his palm to brush against you and cup your butt. Your grip on him tightened immediately. He left you just as speechless as you had done to him. I slipped a hand under his shirt. You shifted your weight on the bed to one arm so you could trail a hand down his shirt. Your fingertips glided down the soft fabric to his tank top, reaching the hem situated right above the pants. You toyed with the end to give Cove some warning about your next move. Oh my god, Cove, prepare, I'm touching your cock. He made no attempt to stop you or get away, so you slipped a hand beneath his top. Aw. Your palm grazing over his stomach, Cove's breath came out faster in hard pants. He brought his forehead to rest against yours. You felt each hot puff of breath tickle your face. You moved your hand upwards, reaching his pecs. Cove gripped your shirt with his fists, twisting and pulling it as you touched him. He mumbled something, even with your face so near to his, close enough that you could count every tiny eyelash. You couldn't make out anything resembling a word. You translated instead based on the tone. He was enjoying it. Your hand roamed, your fingers rising and falling across the grooves of his chest, occasionally squeezing tight muscle to watch Cove's trembling reactions. As you finally retrieved your hand from under Cove's shirt, he lets out another heavy breath. How about we kiss him lightly over and over? You sprinkled Cove's mouth with short kisses, always coming back for more. Cove responded in kind each time, aching for your touch. The tease of getting only a brief connection seemed to make him crave you even more. His hands roamed up and down your back, memorizing the outline of your body. It spurred you on, the gap of time between each kiss shrinking until it was nearly as quick as the kisses themselves. You nibbled his neck. You peppered his neck with kisses and tiny bites in equal measure. Your teeth grazed against his skin, pressing hard enough to make him shiver, then compensating with a soft kiss. Cove sighed dreamily, letting himself get lost in the moment. He instinctively pressed his body up against yours while full of yearning for you. Compliment him. You're really sexy. Seriously. Cove sputtered while covering his face with a hand. From between his fingers, you caught his eyes closing as you spoke, your words of praise running out, unable to look at you directly. But you could also see his smile spreading wider with every syllable you uttered. He squeaked with delight, unable to construct a sentence or even form a single word. You grinned at his reaction. Cove enveloped you in his arms completely, strapping across your torso and back in order to bring you close in for a kiss. As he kissed you, the pressure from his mouth and arms increased. You could feel his legs shifting along your sides. And then he used his newfound hold on you to roll over without warning. You were abruptly laid flat on your back, the mattress beneath you, while Cove pinned you down from above. Oh my god, Cove. It knocked the little breath you had left right out of you. The kiss ended, but he had yet to open his eyes. You were both frozen. It was only when he slowly let his half-lidded ocean eyes look at your face that he understood what he had done. You got to watch his comprehension dawn on his face as he first frowned, puzzled by the change in view. It was then eased by understanding, followed by mortification as his face flooded with color.
Oh my god.
He extracted himself abruptly, but carefully trying to avoid pushing down on you any further as he got up, primly taking a seat on the edge of the bed. He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. From the way he was studiously looking anywhere but at you, you knew at once that he was too embarrassed to go any further. The blush that reached all the way to the tips of his ears was merely extra confirmation. Cove had accidentally shown more proactiveness than seemed he was ready to admit. His embarrassment was adorable. You considered lounging on the bed some more, but felt that was too cruel for your poor, shy boyfriend. Instead, you sat up and gave him space to recover. This isn't the NSFW DLC, but it makes you excited for it. He cleared his throat, trying to regain some control over the situation. Cove jizzed in his pants before he could even remove them, probably. I wish you could stay, but it's getting late. You need to head home and get some rest. I can get some rest right here, pussy. He looked at you, attempting to feign an innocent expression.
I mean...
What if something just happened to happen tomorrow? You had to laugh. Cove cracked a smile, acknowledging his poor attempt at subterfuge. How about I walk you back? Nope, I'm not letting you go on such a long and dangerous journey. Stay here, but avenge me if I don't make it back. Then let me walk you to the door at least. Alright. You silently headed back into the living room together, comfortable with each other's presence. You stopped by the front door. Good night, Joseph. His voice was soft, like a comforter you just wanted to wrap yourself around. Wait, like a comforter you just wanted to wrap around yourself up with forever. But Cove was right. You had to go for today. We don't have to. Good night. Good night, Cove. With that, you opened the door and stepped outside. When you walked down to the street, you noticed that Mr. Holden was still standing out there. He looked up at the sound of the door closing behind you, his phone in hand, and smiled as he sized up the situation.
Oh?
You were in there for a while. I hope that's good news. Yeah, too bad you didn't come in there earlier, Mr. Holden. We were having fun without you. I really would have liked it if you joined in. Were you really going to stand out here in the dark until I left? He waved it off. I don't mind giving you guys a wide berth. We had no clue how sensitive the issue was. I wasn't about to risk messing it up by poking around where I wasn't needed. Besides, I was chatting with Gregorio, Derek's dad, my very professional business partner, about very professional business things. Okay, it all worked out, so that's good. Great, glad to hear it. Everything truly resolved. You exchanged goodnight wishes with Mr. Holden before continuing the very brief trip home. Not wishing to disturb anyone, you quietly snuck inside and gently pushed the door closed behind you. As it clicked into place with a minimum of fuss, you let out a sigh. Your mind buzzed as you climbed up the steps to your room. Cove had done so much just to make you happy, and you knew he'd be back tomorrow with another big surprise. You were determined to fully appreciate his effort. You wanted a gift to surprise him with too. You were resolved enough. You were going to change plans to make him surprised. Your resolve was You resolved enough was enough. You were gonna thank him with a gift and surprise him with a change of plans. We can just give him a gift. Ko had brought you 2 gifts already, and odds are a third was coming. It was time to turn the tables and have something ready to give him. That ruled out purchasing a gift the way he had done for you. Luckily, you'd known Cove long enough to see a solution to this problem. Your neighbor was always a happy boy when he was given food. You were sure he could wrestle something fitting that description out of the kitchen one way or another. Feeling invigorated, you spun around and sped downstairs. It was time to put your plan into action. Let's see. You could manage cooking. You struggled. You could manage cooking. I don't know. No, you struggled. You'd have to find some way. You couldn't even give him something inedible. You couldn't give him something inedible, even though he'd probably still try to eat it just because you made it. There had to be a solution. It then hit you, your parents. Your moms knew how to cook wonderfully, and you could easily persuade them to give you a hand with this. It had to be done. You sized up your options. With an early start, you'd be able to pull together something simple in the morning. If you wanted to go for something more elaborate or time-consuming, you'd need to do it right now. Let's just make cinnamon rolls. We can make those in the morning. Even as a grumpy little boy who had just moved in, cinnamon, sugar, and frosting had brought a smile to his face. He was going to light up with a childlike glee when you saw what you had planned. You located your mom. Well, cinnamon rolls don't need to be prepared the night before. You located your moms in their room on the ground floor and explained your plight. You got a fair amount of ribbing, but they agreed to give you a hand. Molly even had a recipe she swore by that you could use. She flicked through an old cookbook full of clippings and swapped recipes scribbled on a notepad and set to directing you and Mom like a real chef. You made the dough quickly, knowing it would need time to rise before it would be ready to roll out and let you continue the recipe. You strapped the dough into a bowl with a cling film, hoping that the yeast would do its job. You needn't have worried. An hour later and the dough had doubled in size, just as promised. You continued with the recipe, rolling out the dough, layering it with cinnamon sugar filling that Cove had so loved, and readied the rolls for the oven. Soon the kitchen was full of sweet smells as heat joined the ingredients into one. As you waited for the timer, your mind continuously drifted back to younger days. You recalled the chatter of tourists and seagulls on the busy shopping street that had felt so vast when you were a child. Eventually, a beeping brought you back to the present. The rolls luckily came out fluffy and golden, naked without their white frosting coats. You'd whip that up while they were baking, but you had to fight the urge to ice them right away. Until they'd cooled, any frosting you put on them would melt right away. Once you were satisfied with that, they'd been cooled down, you topped them with a sufficiently thick layer of frosting. The teasing from your moms quickly sprinkled into the process. The teasing from your moms sprinkled into the process was merciless. They had no idea why you so urgently needed to cook for Cove, but it may as well have been the funniest thing they had ever heard. Still, the gift needed to be just right, so you endured their good-natured jokes. When it was over, they patted you on the back. You dusted off your hands, satisfied with a job well done. With your mission accomplished, you headed back up to your room. You took the steps lightly, feeling buoyed as you imagined how happy Cove would be with your unexpected gift. Cove was working so hard to make you happy. You dearly wanted your partner to be happy too. You could only hope your efforts would work as well for him as his plans were working for you. Time for some natural frosting for Cove, agreed. You were up early the next day, ready and waiting for Cove's inevitable appearance. Your ears were perked, listening for the doorbell, but instead what you heard was a familiar rapping on the window pane. There was no need to look for who it was. Only one visitor used your window as his personal entranceway. Getting up, you headed over to let him in. You gazed into your neighbor's face as you unfastened the window. Opening it wide, he smiled at you, still crouched on the window ledge. Surprise? Cove's laugh was as airy as the cotton candy sold on the boardwalk. He was in good spirits. Yeah, surprise. I'm really keeping you on your toes. What will I do next? He waggled his eyebrows at the jokes as you stepped back to let him enter the room. Today he clambered through with extra difficulty, thanks to the objects he was clutching securely. You guessed it was another gift. What did you bring this time? You teased him, continuing the joke he'd begun. Oops. Cove smiled bashfully, glancing down at the item in his hands before holding it out to you. With a bit of flair, Cove clanked together 2 mugs like he was giving a toast. Both cups were stamped with the Sunset Bird Town symbol. One for you and one for me. I thought it'd be pretty fitting with us sticking it out here for a while longer. There's permanent footprints from how many times Cove has been there. His eyes were trained on you, searching for your emotion on it. I hope you like it. Wait, what did he give me? Mugs. Okay. You simply smiled at him. What an awful gift. Cove smiled back, cheered by your response. Thanks. You're so cute. He chuckled self-consciously as he gave a long look to the meaningful gift he had selected. It was as if it was growing heavier in his hands. I really do support your goals. I just want you to know that. I know, Cove. Then you accepted the thoughtful present into your own grasp. Only once he transferred ownership and cemented it with your approval did Cove straighten up and pull himself together.
Well...
Okay, well, would it be alright for me to take you out today? We could, I don't know, go ice skating? He smirked, already anticipating that you'd say yes. Alright, you're lucky I've got time for you on my busy schedule. His expression brightened further. That's exactly what he had hoped you.
Thanks.
Wait, what? That was exactly what he had hoped you? That's not English.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joseph. You were glad to see how happy your acceptance had made him. But before Cove could whisk you away on another big outing, you made your own move. Your surprise would be better now than when you got back late that night. Actually, before we go, I've got something for you.
What?
What, really? It was amazing how surprised he was. Cove had spent 3 days raining gifts and special trips on you, but he hadn't at all counted on you doing something in return. Maybe that's indicative of an issue in your relationship. What is it? Stay here for a second and I'll show you. Okay. He watched you expectantly as you turned around and headed downstairs. You reached where the cinnamon rolls were waiting and collected the prize. As you flipped back around to your room, gift in hand, there was a smile playing out on your face. Cove was patiently waiting where you'd left him, tapping his fingers against the sides of his pants. Hope you're hungry. Hope it's enough for a growing boy like you. Cove perked up at your words before he'd even had a chance to see what the present was. You got me food? You laughed. You definitely called it that he had appreciated the gift. You handed the gift over for his inspection. His eyes widened as he saw the treat. I made this myself, so set your expectations and reactions accordingly. Also, my mom's did help too. Oh. He blinked and the present totally taking him by surprise, but his eyes were alight with greed. You made me cinnamon rolls? I love them, though I don't get them a lot. They're not kind of the thing we normally have around. He glanced up at you shyly. I can't believe you still remembered. It's amazing. You chuckled, recalling those moments long ago that you spent together. How could you not remember days with a guy like him? The sentimental air quickly dispersed as he scooped up a cinnamon bun and graciously squished half of it into his mouth. Well, does it get this Cove seal of approval? Cove kept chewing, gesturing apologetically to his occupied mouth. Finally, after what felt like an age, he swallowed. It's so good. The best one I've ever had. Cove wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, now a little calmer after the initial burst of excitement. His feelings instead settled into an easy, warm affection.
It's nice.
Thank you for this. It's so nice of you. I would give anything for you, Cove. He chuckled shyly, tucking his head into his shoulders self-consciously. You don't have to give anything, though. I'm already yours. Your face got significantly hotter after that blunt statement. Even though you certainly hadn't forgotten he was your boyfriend, the way he said it left you speechless. His features softened, and you felt like you were being thoroughly appreciated. The food you gave was also getting its due attention. He'd already gone in for a second serving. You couldn't blame his indulgence. That said, the amount you'd given him was enough for several servings. Far more than even Cove could usually finish at once. You made sure of it. But as he continued to devour it, you were starting to suspect that polishing it all was off the goal. In spite of the generous portion, he was willing to try and eat it all in order to show you how much he liked the presents. You're gonna make yourself sick. It's okay to have some for later, I don't mind. Let's see. Maybe this is a bad idea after all. Next time I'm only bringing you a sample size. Cove pouted, his mouth still full. With cheeks stuffed full like that, he looked like a mildly reproved hamster. Cove finished his current bite and let out a satisfied sigh.
Alright.
Alright, I'll stop for now. There's other stuff to do and I can have more later. You smiled at him, relieved that your gift could be enjoyed and not inhaled. Time for you to stop hogging the limelight. We can do your surprise now, too. Cove laughed. Yours was a better surprise for sure. It was a real one, but yeah. He grinned broadly, as if the exchange had fired him up even further. I'm definitely gonna take you out now. Cove offered you his hand. Let's see, you welcomed it. You took his hand in yours, palm to palm. Cove squeezed your hand before heading out the door, guiding you along. Hand in hand, you wove down the stairs together, out of the house and into the neighborhood. Cove's car was parked nearby. He unlocked it, allowing you to reach your regular spot in the passenger seat. Cove paused to put what remained of his present safely away before hopping into the driver's seat. He set off, beginning your trip to the third and final activity of Cove's grand happiness plan. Now that you were sitting down for the drive, it felt like a good moment to regain your bearings. You shrugged your pack onto your lap and began thumbing through your things to make sure that, in your hurry to leave, you hadn't forgotten anything important. You were dressed more warmly. Well, we're going to the ice skating rink. Yeah. We're dressed more warmly. But in the meantime, you were left to sweat under the sweltering heat of the sun. You zipped it closed again, and Cove began to speak, raising his voice to be heard over the ambient noise of the car ride.
So,
ice skating. This is gonna be crazy. Having fun with water. That's frozen. That's unheard of. Cove, he chuckled at his own joke, and you shook your head at him, though you couldn't help grinning at his silly comment. Who knows, maybe in colder places it's the opposite. Wait, who knows, maybe in colder places it's the opposite that's weird. As you looked at him, you caught a glimpse of the back seat. It was empty, which wouldn't be strange any other day. You didn't bring a jacket? Nope. You know I hate extra layers, and there aren't any parents around to force me to do it now. You scolded him for not preparing for what you were doing. That's not the point. Why do you think it's called ice skating? I don't want you to freeze and ruin the experience for yourself. Cove's eyes knitted together as he began to pout. I'll be fine. Cove Holden! He stayed firmly in his seat, showing no sign that he was going to change his mind. Skeptical as you were, you said nothing more on it. You laid your arm against the window, the scenery outside passing by in a blur until finally you arrived at the ice skating rink. The two of you grabbed your things and got out of the car. A wave of heat so thick it felt like you were swimming in it hit you as soon as you set foot onto the sun-hot asphalt of the parking lot. Cove fell into step next to you, dragging the back of his arm across his face. You and Cove exchanged looks. Well, here we are, his tilted smile seemed to say. The skating rink was a large building of glass and concrete, with its name plastered in simple white letters above its entrance. The nondescript flat rooftop-style architecture reminded you a bit of the local mall. You went in. As the door slid shut behind you, you heard Cove's sharp intake of breath. You glanced over at him, seeing the stunned look on his face, his lips drawn in a tight frown. It's really cold in here. Cove Holden. You're equally amazed at how cold it was. We talked about this exact thing a minute ago. I'm just not used to it is all. Who do you think I am? I lived in a beachside California my entire life. I'm not the Ice Master. Ice Master? If his way of approaching this outing hadn't been so absurd already, that would have sounded ridiculous. Cove had his bottom lip stuck out and his arms wrapped around himself in childish defiance. How about you? How are you feeling? Well, I feel positively warm. I'm feeling just fine. There was no denying that the building was chilly, but it was refreshing compared to the sweltering heat of the parking lot. He briefly laughed. That's good. Your neighbor shuddered dramatically, almost retracting his head into his shirt in his renewed effort to keep warm. Oh, you hugged onto him to keep him warm. You took a step towards him and wrapped him up in what you'd hoped would eventually become a warm embrace. For a second, his body wasn't even more rigid, but he quickly relaxed and gave you a self-conscious smile.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. See if you like thanking me after I force you to rent skates like this. His quiet laugh shook through his abdomen. You felt it on the side of your body right before he put his arm around your waist and pressed you closer, an unspoken sign that he had no problem with it. Like this, the two of you ambled over to the rental counter together. A slightly awkward process had left you unsure if you were going forward or sideways. That clerk ended up giving you two funny looks over the top of her glasses as you went through the process of paying for admission and finding skates in your shoe size. But throughout it all, Cove didn't shiver once. Eventually you had your skates. It was a particularly well-worn set. Still sturdy where it had once been blue, it was now faded, and where it had once been white, it was now closer to tan. With some time and a low bench, you were both set up with the rented shoes and now stood by the opening to the rink. It was an oblong shape surrounded by a paneled wall with rails. You were a little amused to see that there were others dressed in t-shirts and shorts, and you turned to Cove to point it out. The answering laugh that came out sounded a little distracted.
Well,
here we go. Tentatively, he took one step out onto the ice. The series of movements that followed were reminiscent of a jack in a box swinging back and forth on its spring. You thought you might laugh, but it died in your throat when, for one heart-lurching second, Cove's upper body tipped forward at a 90-degree angle. His hand shot out, snapping against the ledge running along the plexiglass panels on the side of the rink. A relieved sigh left both him and you. He was mumbling to himself as he craned his head back. He must have caught the alarm on your face because he gave you a smile as shaky as his footing. I'll make it work. You'd never been ice skating before now either. But it was fun to see Ko's first time trying it. But you'd done it before without him. You came forward to join the man. Let's see. You were a little shaky, but you caught yourself. On wobbly legs, you somehow made your way over to Cove. He looked at you with an understanding smile. We'll both work on it. Yeah. It's kind of amazing we're seriously ice skating right now, but this is what we decided to do. I should stop being surprised over everything. Let's skate. Let's skate. The two of you developed a cautious rhythm, drawing long, slow circles around the edge of the rink side by side. Neither of you were experts. In fact, it was hard to tell who was worse. There were no complaints from either party when the pace was kept slow, or even stopped entirely whenever one of you needed to grab onto the edge again. Despite how ungraceful a pair you were, it was fun. White puffs of air released from you and Cove as you laughed and cheered each other on for the smallest achievement. There were also still plenty of moments spent clinging on to each other for added warmth against the unrelenting chill of the space. The hours slid right past you, and just like that, it was suddenly time to call it a day. After returning the borrowed skates, Cove and you ventured back out into the California air. Even though the sun was almost behind the horizon, it was still palpably warmer than inside the rink. Cove pushed you over to his car, his shivering hand clutched to yours. You let him pull you forward in his mad dash to the vehicle. Doors were open and closed, seats were taken. The engine was switched on and heat turned to the max. At that, Cove finally relaxed. Your foray into the freezing cold had ended, and nicely at that. On the return leg of the journey, you felt Cove lapse deep into a world of thought. Typically, even when a conversation was exhausted, his eyes would flick to you occasionally, and you'd exchange smiles and other gestures. This time his focus was split purely between the road and the recesses of his mind. But as there was no sign of trouble on his features, so you are happy to let him mull over whatever he needed to rest in peace. The trip drifted by in a comfortable silence. Before long, you were back in the neighborhood. You each left through your respective sides, and Cove stepped around the vehicle to stand with you. Wordlessly, he gestured to your home. He was intending to take you there. Perhaps he felt the trip wasn't truly over until you were literally inside your house. You contentedly continued to go with Cove on his whims, and you went inside. Once under the light of your living room lamps, his eyes locked onto yours.
Thank you.
Joseph, I know all of this was a lot, but I really did have so much fun. He grinned in an almost conspiratorial way. We really did it. This whole entire dumb plan of mine. I was happy it all became a reality. I hope you're happy too. I've never been happier. The smile he wore was small, even restrained compared to some of the grins he'd flashed earlier, but it was imbued with a calm, comforting contentment. In this moment, he was as joyful as you'd ever seen him. His next words escaped in a whisper. No one makes me feel the way you do. But he moved the conversation along before you had a chance to react to that admission. It had to be intentional.
Joseph.
Could I ask you to go along with one more surprise? His voice was gentle, even as he implored you for a little more. The question itself was a surprise. Another? You could hardly believe that there was even more hidden up his sleeve. Cove chuckled quietly, nodding his head ever so slightly. A new one. I think I don't want to go home already. Not yet, and going back to one of our usual spots sounds fantastic after all this new stuff we went through. I can do that. Let's stay together. Not that an offer like that coming from you counts as a surprise, but it's a thought that counts. You smirked at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm bad at surprises. What a surprise. The two of you laughed together over the silliness of this entire mini-adventure Cove had concocted. Thanks for saying yes anyway. You walked down your usual path side by side and hand in hand. You trodden this same path many times. By all rights, the novelty should have been long gone, but you found fulfillment in every step you took. You were sure you always would, with Cove supporting you along the way. Whether he was near or far, it didn't matter in the end. He would always be there for you. With this plan of Cove's drawing to a close, you might have expected to feel a little wistful. It had been an exciting few days, but there was no need to yearn what had gone. After all, you knew that the two of you would always find new ways to bring a smile to each other's face. It's what you both did, and you were looking forward to new surprises already. It's over. The end of our life. Again! Woo! 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 I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm empty. I want to die. I'm kidding. I don't want to die. But I'm upset.